Welcome to Reunderstood, where we challenge perspectives and rethink what we think we know.
It's me, Ibrahim.
And me, Mirko.
Together, we explore ideas, break down complex topics, and share insights from our own experiences. Let's dive in and rediscover the world, one conversation at a time.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
We start clapping to ourselves. That's the best support we can have from the beginning. Later on, you'll be clapping us. So yeah, it's just like you see how you should do it.
This is how it starts, with two people clapping, and eventually in Times Square in New York with 1 million people clapping.
Are you ready, New York?
How many episodes do you think it's going to take us to get to New York?
Oh, I didn't think about New York.
That's all I'm thinking about every day.
New York.
Before I go to bed every night, I'm just picturing us in New York City with a massive audience and the fans going crazy.
My thoughts were how it will look like when we are on episode 50 or episode 100, where we will be, how the things will look.
How many episodes are we on now? I think this is number 5.
Yeah, unofficially number 5.
The audience has only seen 2, so there's some lost episodes in between somewhere. Yeah. So technically, this is going to be the 3rd one that gets released.
You didn't. I sent you the short one version. You want that?
You want that to go live?
Yeah.
Okay, it's like a mini episode. It can be 2.1, not a full episode.
Yeah.
But so we're almost at probably around 5 hours of recording now with the 5th episode. Are you noticing any differences from when we started?
More thoughts are going towards this, even though my schedule is still busy, but we are more attention giving to this execution mostly. I think we need to work more on the strategy part and the program and viewership. But this will go, it will come for that as time for that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking at the post-production side as one of the things that's going to affect how well the podcast is doing in terms of the marketing and distribution. Yeah. But I definitely think that's going to make a smaller impact than the content itself. Right? If we can get to the point of being really effective, engaging, entertaining communicators, that's going to have far bigger of a return on time and results than, let's say, if we edited the video a little bit better. I look at it as you're trying to polish something that's already subpar. You're only going to get so far. You're starting with an inferior product, and so it's never going to be world class. Whereas if you start with something exceptional, then the editing is going to have a much bigger impact on that.
Yeah, true. That's why exceptional will come over time as well, and planning plus time will make it something exceptional. So that's why we need to focus more on the delivery part, right?
You mean right here, right now?
Yeah.
That's it. This is what matters, right?
Every time when we meet, yeah.
We're a 50 podcast is going to take us 1 year to do.
Yeah.
If we're doing one a week. Now, if we doubled our frequency to 2 episodes a week, it'll take us half that time, 6 months. We'd get just as good in that time.
Yeah. But is it realistic at the moment?
It depends on our schedules, right?
Yeah.
Like how much are we willing to commit to this?
True.
I think maybe later on down the line, when we see that this is getting traction, when the potential for this is becoming more and more clear, then it's going to be easier to devote more time to.
Yeah.
When the fans are raving outside, then we'll think, okay, we'll do another episode this week.
Yeah, that's true. That's why it all comes to what we do now. Better planning, better filling the time, right? And then this will help us that will be one thing that we are nailing it, and then it will be other things as well that are focused on.
Now, I noticed you're wearing a My Protein hoodie today. I'm going to take that to assume your fitness journey is going really well. Is that right?
It is going well. Also, it's I have a sponsor, so like, you know.
Yep. So if any other fitness brands would like to sponsor Mirko, then please reach out. He's open to collaborations
as well, like you are, I assume.
No, I'm unavailable for sponsorship.
Nobody can buy you.
I don't have a price.
Good.
Mirko, you sold out on episode 5.
You know, I do what I gotta do to move this podcast forward.
But yeah, your fitness you're still progressing. You were telling me you were gonna add 1 push-up every day, so you must be on like 100 by now.
Yeah, no, I changed strategy.
Okay.
So I started just like few. It was 20 push-ups every morning, 20 crunches, 20 squats. Then I implemented some exercises for biceps and for chest, but sometimes last week I find the one guy who is, I think Rowan, someone like that, and he is doing like a half hour and covering all parts like chests, abs, core, legs, and I find it very interesting, a bit tiring at the moment. And also after that, then I'm adding more exercises just for biceps, just lifting weights. So that way I put a little bit more accent on hands at the moment. And yeah, it's interesting to see. Every day I look in the mirror, you know, but that's funny thing. We are doing something and we are expecting results. Even though I know the journey, it takes a while, but every day you have to be there in front of the mirror, check out yourself if there's any changes.
I suppose because exercising and working out is one of these things that gives you such a visceral body response, unlike so many other things. I can sit at my desk and work on the business all day and I won't feel any different by the end of it.
Yeah.
There's no pump, there's no like endorphins firing. It's just more emails, more writing, more copy, and at the end of the day there isn't tangibly any difference in my life to indicate that I've done work. Yeah. It's all in this digital electronic space that I've pressed some keys and now maybe one day money will materialize. I gotta keep hoping.
That's deception with digital age and information. You look like you're just sitting in front of the desk and who knows what he's doing. Is he playing solitaire or actually creating content, marketing plan, whatever? Yeah. So
that level of I think it's like abstraction, where you have a person and then a screen, and something can go on in this screen. Like you could be smashing the buttons on the keyboard, clicking the mouse, and eventually after some time, money appears. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
As like I understand, like we're living in such a advanced time in life, but there was a period where I remember where computers weren't a thing, where something digital was seen as kind of crazy. And from a really primitive point of view, this is such a crazy technology where you're just like sitting out here all day, 8 hours a day, and one day I buy a new house.
yeah. That's like just 40 years ago, there was no such thing. And you had to do some visible work in order to get a reward. And now it's, let's say, activity or hardness of the activity, physical hardness is decreasing, and it's more
intellectual difficulty is what it's about. Like, this is an interesting point as well, because sometimes I'll think working hard doesn't always equate to a proportionate reward. So you have people who are working laborious jobs like construction or in hospitality. They're on their feet sometimes 12 hours a day, working really hard, sometimes for decades, years. But that's not rewarded proportionately. They're not billionaires by the time that they finish. So it comes down to, are you working hard on the right things? And once you've established that work ethic, the challenge then becomes directing it in the right way. And this is, I think, one of the challenges with the entrepreneurial journey, is that you don't necessarily know where to direct that energy. Right? I can work 12 hours a day on something, but it might be the completely wrong thing. And so that effort is as good as if I was waiting tables that day at a restaurant.
And that's these 12 hours, as you said, like you can be behind the desk, but how much of productivity has been in that? Were you distracted often? Were you like by your phone or by any other things around you, or was there actually focused and you had a plan what you want to achieve today or for that hour or for that block that you set aside. It's hard to be focused 12 hours on one thing, and I think it takes a lot of mind and brain energy to do that, and we know that there are peaks in energy and also low times when you just can't focus. And I noticed this as I'm doing paper for my study at the moment. It's for one day I was just like, my mind was scattered all over the place, and it was really hard just to start somewhere. And it wasn't the first time that I'm doing a paper starting from scratch, but it was, I haven't experienced this before. It was, I don't know, maybe just too much of other things are interfering inside of my brain, and I need some time to slowly switch into this paper and research mode. And then just day after, actually, I was able to start making some progress and be happy with what I have achieved that day.
What kind of things are you doing differently to help you get into this focus mode?
Reduce distraction from other things.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. We have to be mindful how we use and not to be abused by environment.
That's true. Yeah. The focus one is good because I'm understanding more and more how my mind works and better appreciating that I can't be focused 12 hours a day. Like you said, it's really tough. So now I try and anticipate when are my energy levels going to dip, and I'll reduce the difficulty of the tasks that I have to work on. I'll work on this low cognitively demanding work when my levels start to dip.
How do you do that?
How do I do that?
Yeah.
Well, I anticipate when during the day my levels dip, because my schedule is very predictable. Apart from when we record the podcast, then my entire schedule gets thrown off. But usually it's like I've got a very predictable schedule, and then I can now track with pretty good accuracy when my levels dip. And then I'll think, all right, at this time of the day, I'm going to switch over to these tasks which I've planned in advance, because I know my mental state is not going to be able to deal with the highly demanding creative work. So I'll make it a little bit easier for myself until that wave is climbing back up again. Then I'll switch over to the hard work.
How do you measure, or how do you recognize the waves when you are up or down?
So for a start, it's more how alert I feel and engage with the task. It's more like levels of alertness. So in the morning, I'm pretty sharp. I'll look at work and I'll have lots of ideas and I'll feel energized and ready to tackle it. That level starts to deplete around lunchtime. And then it sort of hits a bottom where I'm like, all right, I need to reduce. What I used to do is when I got this low was to stop working. I would be like, all right, I'm feeling a little low. Now I got to just waste time laying around and do nothing. But now I'm thinking, actually, this isn't a point of unproductivity. It just means I got to switch over what I'm working on, because the task that I used to be working on is no longer possible at this point. It's just too mentally, like writing or strategic thinking, all this kind of high level stuff. It was not really possible at this point. I would be making poor decisions, and I would think, all right, time to stop working. That's not really the right way, is it? Because you can think, all right, I can't do this difficult thing, but there's probably a million other things I could be working on. So I'll just switch it out for something easier.
Yeah. Do you maybe have like a longer list of the tasks? Which tasks can be performed at which levels?
I have an A list and a B list. And then A list times are when my levels are at peak. And then when I can't work on those, I'll switch over to B list tasks. So there's no excuse for me not to be working, is what I'm saying. It's always, are you either working on this difficult thing first thing in the morning when you're alert, motivated, ready? And if you can't do that, work on one of these easy things, which require no real work. They're more administrative. Anyone can do it at any point. I could do it in bed. So as long as I'm switching between the two, and then I get bored of doing the administrative stuff, I'll switch back over to the hard stuff.
Nice one. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I was always, it's interesting to hear how are you recognizing, what you can do. Obviously, we all feel at certain points of the day like, oh, we are drowsy, or, I'm pumped, I can do something. But
I'll tell you where I adopted this or came up with this strategy from. So a few years ago, I had injured my back and I couldn't walk. And I had the routine of going to the gym every morning around 6 a.m. But after this injury, I couldn't really go anymore. But I didn't want to let this routine die. So rather than think, all right, I'm now not going to be able to do anything, I thought, what is the minimum amount of exercise or routine I can continue with that lets me keep the streak going? So I was like, I can probably walk for about 5 minutes before the pain starts to kick in. And there was a cafe around 5 minutes walk away where I would get up at 6 and then walk there. by this point, that would be my limit. I would have to sit down and rest. So I would take 10 minutes and I would read, and then I would walk back, and I would keep that routine during this time of the injury. And I try and think back to that whenever I hit some kind of obstacle. I'll think, rather than just stopping or completely losing momentum, there's got to be a way where I can keep inching forward. What is a minimum step or forward direction I can implement right now? And that kind of keeps me in check most of the time, because usually there is always something that we can do. We just sometimes get that initial resistance to, it's not going how I wanted, let's just scrap it all together.
Yeah. That's true. That and sometimes we actually stop at that point and don't do anything, instead of just reduce the expectation, let's call it that way, and then you do it this little bit so you keep the streak and not stop completely.
The thing you were saying earlier about, sometimes it takes you a day to get into the headspace of something. I really relate to that one. Sometimes if I take like 2 or 3 days off of work, it really takes me another 2 days before I fully get back into it. Mm-hmm. It's like my mind completely lets go of all of it and then absorbs into something else. And then I need even more time to get back into what I was working on. I don't know if this is an age thing or if the nature of my work has changed so much over the years that it now requires so much more mental awareness than it used to do. But now it's really tough for me to stop thinking about something and then immediately go back into it after a while. It really needs to be consistent, like keeping it topped up, almost like exercise. Mm-hmm. I have to keep my brain engaged with the specific task or work I'm focused on.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's an age-related thing, but it's more task-demanding way. And that's why the more, maybe if you don't have a lot of knowledge, you have to prepare yourself something new. That might be one of the things that might take a bit longer. But yeah, it is just preparation. Sometimes it's not necessarily that you will always need 2 days or 1 day or 2 hours, depending. It just maybe just your current life circumstances are a bit different. Your thoughts are in different direction, and you might, put yourself together. And
I guess life, as you get older, gets more complex. Your commitments, your responsibilities, they all increase and they start demanding more and more of your mental load. And so it's easier as a child where you don't have anything going on to just switch from one thing to the next carefree, because realistically you don't have anything going on. But as those responsibilities, as those priorities start to mount, everything is fracturing your attention in different ways. And so it gets harder to focus on one thing singularly.
But this is where we should take control of our life. And as we get older, as we assume or expect that things might get out of control and we might be scattered, or our thoughts, this is where we should take more attention, give more attention to this, and then be smart of to whom or to what things you are giving your attention, and to which things you are saying no, to which things you are saying yes.
Is this something you've implemented or you're implementing in your own life?
In progress.
Can you give us some examples of how it's going?
Yeah, so business, work, study, right? Those 3 things, they are taking my major a volume of energy from me, and therefore I noticed where are my limits, because those are the things that you have to do, and at the moment you can't, something you don't want to do, or so you have to do all those things. And that's why some things have lifetime, like study. For me, it will end this September, so I'll finish study, and therefore I will get 1/3 of my time back. And this is one of the things that I'm looking forward to. It was just this long period. It take, in a way, too much time or mental space for other things. It is here and it has to be done. Sometimes, you say yes in advance, and later on you said, okay, now I see where I have to say no's, how much energy I have. And especially as you get older, energy levels are quite different. And I was thinking it was like 5 years ago or so, oh yeah, I can do that. And then I just started piling up things. And now I see like, okay, this is how things shouldn't be done. And you need to be more careful, time and life planning.
That's cool. I noticed in your list of business, work and study, there was no mention of family in there.
Yeah.
Or personal
I know. I knew that as well, and that's one of the things. You need to put those things in your life as well. Not put them. You have to make space, special space for life and family, and then plan other things around that, because this is what gives you happiness, where you can feel those all emotions that we are usually striving to have through life.
So why has it not featured on your list at the moment?
Because I was talking about the things that are ahead of me and that were here. The ones that let's say they can end up at some point.
Oh,
right?
you mean they're finite? They're coming to an end at some point.
Exactly. And those things we are doing for certain periods, even
like seasons of work.
Exactly, regardless how long that is. But we have family because that was our primary choice. We do other things so the life quality and family time can be increased and be better.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. Are you saying that these things that you're doing, the business, study, and everything else, what was the third?
Job,
business, study, job. The intention is for this to always augment and improve your personal and family life.
Yeah, the better I am at doing something which is related to job, business, or study, it will make me better, and I will be able to provide more provide in terms of having more time back, and then this will give me a freedom to make choices and spend with my family.
That's an interesting one. That I don't often hear that from entrepreneurs. Sure, they might want the freedom, but to have the end goal of the work that you're doing be that your family and personal life is improved is a cool one. It's like you're not getting distracted, or your mission is very singular in that it always feeds back into what you started with, essentially. It was never a distraction, or it wasn't a priority that you changed along the way.
Yeah. The problem is that sometimes those other things that should supplement your life or make it better, they take all your time, and then family suffers because they are closest to you, and if you don't have time for them, it's just a result of it. And that's quite often you can see on online or wherever that, or just pushing that, hustle, but you're not machine. And even robots or whatever cars, they need to be fueled up. So there is a idle time when they don't do anything. And even more so, human beings who are emotional and social, and they need this kind of interaction to be happy and fulfilled.
That's true. I like that. The thing that I was thinking about in regards to this is that managing your time in respect to how it relates to your family and personal commitments, I think of as a skill set. And I remember I was reading something one time where someone said, adults typically, the reason that a lot of them struggle to have deep, meaningful connections with others is because they don't have the skill set to build those connections and maintain them throughout adult life, where everyone's life is very hectic and changing and busy, and it needs a particular skill set to be able to manage those relationships. And he gave the example of how you reach out to your friends regularly, just like sending them a text which takes 10 seconds or something and saying, how are you? Can we catch up for a call or something? Now, when he framed it that way, it flipped a switch in my mind that said, wait a minute, it's not that I don't have time for it, or that everyone's too busy, or I've got excuses, or I'm distracted. It's always just that I didn't have the skill set to manage these relationships well. Because everyone says, oh, we lost touch, we fell out of contact, and we drifted apart. But those are not always inevitable. It's like we take those as a given, as it's always going to happen. But what if it was just because you didn't have the skill set to manage this relationship as you got older and your life got more complicated? And then I think of this in regards to family and personal commitments. I'll think, all right, if I am not putting enough time into those things that do matter, but I'm not putting the time there, is it because I don't have time, or is it because I don't have the skill set to manage my time effectively enough to put the time in those places?
Yeah.
And I've tried to flip that switch, because in one of those where I say I don't have time, it's like I let go of the power and responsibility. I say, it's out of my hands. I can't do anything, which I try and avoid every time now, because then it's a dead end. There's no way to go from there. But if I say, oh, I don't know how to do this yet, I still have room there. It means I can learn, I can get better, and I'll be able to eventually not maybe fix it, but do better than I'm currently doing. One of those is a dead end, where the other one gives me room to grow and get better and learn from.
Yeah, another side would be also priority.
Yeah.
Who is important to you, and you mentioned skill set. So if I don't give priority to my family and friends, then I won't think maybe there is something I need to change. You just like, oh, I don't have time, whatever. But if you think, okay, I'm not spending enough time with my loved ones, what do I need to do? Okay, this is my schedule. Then there is like skill set. Okay, I need to change something within myself, but first you need to set priority. You get lists and what's important, and then like, okay, I'm lacking here to achieve this, and then you will be on a good trajectory to spend time how you wanted.
I agree. And I think for a lot of people, when they do make that priority list, they make it seem like it's not a choice, that they have to do the work or the business or whatever commitments they've got, and that there's nothing else they can do here. They want to spend more time. If you ask a lot of businessmen, I'm sure they're going to give this response, right? Where they'll say, oh yeah, I'd love to spend more time with my family. Of course I want to see my wife and kids more often, but I just don't have time.
Yeah.
But that's the wrong approach, right? It's the approach would be, I don't yet know how to manage my time well enough to make time for the things that I want. Because I can imagine, and I've been in the situation where you want this thing, where you want to be spending more time on the things that matter, but you're not sure how, because you've built up this machine, this business, this career, whatever, that demands so much of you that stepping away for a second feels like the entire thing is going to crumble.
Yeah.
So you're always holding up all these different things. You're like, I want to do this other thing, but I can't leave this for a second because I've overcommitted, or I haven't learned how to build systems or whatever to manage this magnitude of responsibility.
Yeah. That's the problem. And I would say, give me your calendar to see how it's filled. Did you make blocks for family, day off or few hours off? So how did you plan your day? And that will tell you how did you, where are your priorities? Right? Exactly.
That's it. No, that's a good way of looking at it. But this kind of comes back to something we've been talking about quite a lot recently, which is communication, right? And this is where being able to communicate your priorities and your time scheduling and your calendar comes in, because if you can't do those things, then a lot of your relationships will crumble. And I think most adults are not really taught how to communicate or how to manage these relationships well. This is something I've been actively working on over the past few months. One even small example I can give is I would meet people randomly, right? And I'll give you the perfect example. I was sitting at the coffee shop the other day and I hear something just in the corner, and it was like the sound of a ball hitting a wall. It was a squash court game, right? So like I hear the squash game going on, and I see the guy sitting there. He's watching something on his phone, and I go over. I introduce myself. I say hello, and we start talking, and we're having a great chat. And he's like, "Let's play a game sometime." So I'm like, 100%, let's do it. So exchange numbers. Now, so often in the past, I would have this interaction where we would agree to like get together and meet up and continue, but nothing would transpire. So I learned from that experience after getting some feedback, and I was like, I'm going to now make an active effort to set things up. I will send a message, say, hey, are you free at this time? Shall we do something? And this is now the approach I'll take after every interaction. And so far, in the past like 3 or 4 times I've tried this, 0 responses. I've been ghosted every time.
Really?
And it's got me thinking, when people have these interactions with strangers, right? They're very forthcoming and open to doing something, but I wonder how much of it is sincerity. How much of it is just politeness and saying, yeah, sure. Because when I'm talking, I really do mean it. I did want to play that squash game or meet up, but I don't feel bad about that. In fact, I'm actually feeling much better because now I know that their style of communication or friendship is incompatible with what I'm looking for. So the fact that they haven't replied tells me we wouldn't have been worthwhile friends or acquaintances in the first place.
Could it be that maybe you didn't spend enough time to build a rapport, to create some kind of connection, meaningful connection?
That's not what I have contention with. It's more about this guy, because prior to this I had a few ghosted attempts, right? So I was like, I won't do anything. And this guy initiates, he was like, let's play a game. So I was like, all right, he's asking, he must be down for it. So we exchanged numbers and I text him, hey, shall we set up this game? No response.
You can ask me if you want to play squash game with me.
Do you play?
No, but I would like to.
Have you played before?
No, I've been playing table tennis most often.
There's a place I know in, do you know where the Odeon is?
Oh, maybe.
Odeon Cinema. There's a free table tennis tables in there. We could do one of our sessions there.
Yeah.
During the game.
Sure. I won't ghost you. No, that would be great. Yeah, I would love to, yeah.
Because we were thinking about mixing up. I was doing some research on recording podcasts, and apparently if you change the environment around, it really helps with changing the energy and giving you fresh ideas for recording. Yeah,
different environment sparks different set of topics, and also the sentiment is different. So, yeah.
Because I know we spend a lot on the studio, and we want to get our money's worth. But maybe we should mix it up a little bit somewhere else. The problem is obviously with background noise, and I do have a microphone. So we can do like a proper dedicated mic, but I'm thinking, where can we go that it's not going to be too crazy loud in the background? I mean, you could always come to my place. It's got a great backdrop.
Yeah.
And we can record there. But somewhere maybe scenic around the city could be cool.
Yeah, sure. We can plan something like that.
Have you got any... Have you been around the city? What places do you know here?
I'll have to think about it. Not specifically, but...
Okay, no problem. We'll brainstorm some ideas later.
Yeah.
So I just want to come full circle now. You're on this fitness journey. Is your wife also joining you on this journey?
No, I didn't ask her. And maybe 2-3 weeks ago, I was in my room stretching or something, and she came in. She did a few squats with me, and she left.
That's all it takes. That's it. The seed is planted, and now you just need to wait for that to slowly build.
No, that's okay. Yeah, as I learned from the past, I don't expect others to go on my journey, and I'm curious to hear what are other people's journey, what are their experiences, what are their goals, lessons along the way, and that's the curious part in me. But we should try to understand others. Like with clients, it's good to understand, is this something that they want? Are they in market for a fit body? Right? And then you can sell them the pen. But no, it has to be intrinsical. And this will help you to go furthest. Those values, what you find important, it will help you to go, and it will help you to connect with others. And yeah, that's the funny thing, what you said, like, it's healthy, it's good for you, but how much are people doing this, right?
But the difference being the relationship with the client is mostly optional.
Yeah.
You're not stuck with the client for life.
Exactly, but also it's optional for someone to join you on doing some activities that you are doing in your family.
That's true. Yeah. But I mean more along the lines of you're committed to your family for life. So to what extent do you have a responsibility for their well-being?
A responsibility is always here, but you can't shove broccoli into their mouth. Luckily, I like broccoli. I don't know what's the problem with broccoli, guys. Come on.
I exactly think it's great.
No, it's great, yeah. But
shout out to broccoli.
Yo, broccoli. Sponsor. Next sponsor will be there. So, yeah, responsibility is one thing, but applying something, it's another. And it's like anything that we do, like even making a lunch or making food, cleaning house, it's all where we put priorities, what is important to us, and then that you can't do many things. You can be supportive, and I think support is the most important thing in any relationship, mostly family even more, right? Because regardless if you are family or not, people can turn their backs, they can start communicate, they can shut you out of your life, right? It is possible, and it happens probably in many cases, but that's why when you give good support, when you give time and showing the benefits, showing the results, it will...
Case studies.
Huh?
Case studies.
Yeah, like, look at me now. That's the thing, like my effort will show in a few months' time, hopefully.
It's already showing. The fans can tell.
Thank you.
We've been getting so many emails about your improvements.
So yeah, they know where to follow. They've seen the results, and that's good. Yeah,
that's cool. What you said about just being able to offer support, I definitely resonate with that. And the approach I take is, part of me is a little bit narcissistic in that if I think someone should be doing something, I'm very convinced that they should be doing something. And so rather than just leave it, I will get very tactful in figuring out how can I make this person do the thing.
Yeah.
And it might sound deceptive, but really, I always have the person's best interest at heart. And in the exercise example, people pretty much always know that they should be doing something, but there's some kind of barrier. There's some kind of hidden block to being able to do it. And so my approach is trying to understand what that is, right? Is it the anticipation of how much you're going to sweat? Is it the gym clothes that aren't comfortable? Is it the trip to the gym? So I'll try and do this in a non-interrogative way, where I'm like trying to piece together what's the issue, where is it? And then slowly I'll weave my way in there and be like, I want to make this thing as effortless as possible, so that by the end of it, there is no reason for me not to do this. This is the easiest thing in the world.
Resistance removal.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's a very powerful approach, and important, because our mind is doing the totally opposite. He is there like putting everything like, oh, you might do this, you might do that. My wife just told me today she's also doing some courses, and she said like, oh, should I do cake or should I do this or that? And then she said on her own like, I'm trying to figure any other reason just so I don't have to do this. Yeah. So I said, I know, it sounds familiar.
Welcome to the club.
But that's also, I see that she's trying something, because a year ago or something, just to mention some course or something, she wouldn't consider this. And now this year she was like, all right, yeah, maybe I should do something. And yeah, people are changing, people are realizing, and also it's something that it's natural. Over the time we are understanding ourselves, hopefully our potential as well, and maybe sometimes just outside events are forcing us to make some changes in our life that will make our life better, or we shouldn't meet again those stressful situations, so it's just brain is here to protect you, but also when you see that there is too many trouble or threat is coming from certain direction, that he will start preparing yourself. Like if your body is seeing that you have too many physical obstacles, you easily become exhausting, then your muscles will grow because you are facing this situation, but over time your muscles will grow, your stamina will be better, and then you will be easier face those challenges.
It's identical to the resistance-based training you do at the gym, where the weights, because they're heavy and you move them, your muscles get bigger. It's identical with the mentally difficult challenges. Because of that resistance that you push through, your cognitive ability to push through challenges and difficulty and persevere strengthens, and your endurance builds as well in the process.
Yeah, it's like every effort or every challenge is just like a bubble around yourself, and the more you are pushing that bubble, you are becoming stronger and you are having more space. The bubble is not anymore suffocating you, but you are having more space, and this is how you increase your comfort zone. It's uncomfortable to increase your comfort zone.
Yeah, no, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And one of the ways I'll do this is in putting myself in circumstances that I've never been in, right? New environments, new people, places that I have no real experience or familiarity with, so that I can learn to adapt and put myself in there. And I'll do this deliberately every week, where once a week I'll try and look for things that I've never done before. And the list gets harder and harder, because you can't keep thinking of new things. Like, there's only so many things you can do before constraints like money or time start to limit you. Like, sure, I'd like to go skydiving. That would be nice, but realistically, that's a little practical to do. So then I have to get more creative with how I do this. But I'm trying to do this regularly, because there's what I was talking about earlier with age. I think there's inertia that comes with age, where your mind thinks in a certain way and it wants to continue thinking in that certain way. And this is something that I don't know, from a very young age wanted to resist, because I've seen a lot of older people and I'll think, wow, they're so rigid in how they think and they are so set in their ways that I really don't want to end up that way. So I'm trying to actively correct for that. I want to say eventuality, but for that particular scenario, and putting myself in new circumstances is one way I'll do that.
Yeah, it is. In one way, it is hard, and I understand them. Just when you think about driving, when you go to work, 99% of the time of your commuting to work, it will be the same road, same direction. Just if there are works on the street, you might do the tour. I also heard that every day we are having 95% of the same information that we had yesterday. So like a learning, unless you are really exposing yourself, but on day-to-day basis, you're going to work, you go home, 95% of information is the same. And that's very scary. If you think that you're not actively doing on some of your improvements, your life is monotone, and it doesn't change. And
so how are you preventing that monotone, or what are you doing to mix things up?
This is where curiosity always has space in my life, and at the moment I'm doing paper. There is research related to this, something new. Try to learn at least some new different topic, right? Maybe on YouTube or somewhere. Be exposed.
How to hit record on a podcast.
Exactly. That's one thing. It doesn't it doesn't show you exactly, and if you don't see it, I could look for another 5 minutes and I wouldn't find the button. It didn't look at all like a record button. So that was funny. Yeah,
that's cool. What you said earlier about the 95%. This is something I'm trying to work against, because I'm realizing that not only is that what you're exposed to, but your brain doesn't want anything else. Your brain wants familiarity and comfort because it's safe, it's easy, it expends less energy that way, being in familiar environment. So biologically, you're designed to not seek that unknown space. And I'm thinking about this in the context of business, where the stuff that I need to do day to day that's going to make the biggest impact is usually the one thing that I don't want to do at all. So at the start, it was content making. And when I eventually got past that, we're like, okay, now that's no longer the barrier. And I was trying to find new ways to get this website live. And I was doing these AI things, and I was like, hold on, I'm looking for all these shortcuts and ways to do something, but really what I need to do is sit down and write the copy, which is so painful. I don't have a lot of experience, and I need to sit down, write each word, think through what the process is going to look like. And I've been delaying it for weeks. And I think, all right, Ibrahim, the one thing that you really don't want to do is the copywriting. And so now I'm trying to catch myself earlier in the process, because I realize it can go like this for months, where there's one thing that I'm avoiding and I'll continue to avoid it and not address it for months sometimes, whether it's some kind of work or conversation or whatever it is. And I'll find excuses or distractions to not deal with that one thing. And now I'm trying to get a little better at immediately recognizing what needs to be done and how can I just get it over with.
What is so hard in doing a copy? Where do you find the biggest resistance?
At the core of it is trying to do something which you've never done, and knowing that you're going to suck at it, knowing that the output won't be very good, and that it's going to be very inefficient and take you a lot longer than you want, and the output won't be very good. All those things, it's going to take long and not be very good and be uncomfortable while you do it, is the main reasons for not wanting to do it. And I find that for a lot of stuff that I'm having to come up against, especially as the business is growing. When I feel that resistance now, I'm trying to reset my thinking around it and think, all right, this is obviously unknown to me. I'm going to suck at it. It's going to take a long time. That means I should do it.
Have you found a way around being better at doing a copy?
Have I found a way at being bad at copy?
Better and doing copy.
Volume and looking at examples and learning from good copy. That's it. It's like learning from people who are doing well, and then repetition, and then iterating. Doing it over and over and over, and then realizing, all right, this is what worked, this is what doesn't, and iterating over that.
So are you happy with the progress you made so far?
I'm never happy with the progress. I always think I should be doing more than I am. And that's what makes being bad at something so much more painful. It's because you have unrealistic expectations for how good you need to be, and those expectations are never met.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. But also it's important to reflect where you have been and where you are now. that will give you the boost and a bit of satisfaction that there is some progress. Because if we don't see progress, we will always be dissatisfied. You might be dissatisfied with your position, and you won't be content with your current position, but you also will be satisfied with the progress you made.
So how do you balance being content and satisfied with continuing to have that drive to do better?
A reflection gives you gratitude, but obviously drive is here to push you forward. So I think gratitude is important part of accepting where you are and acknowledging the progress. And then, of course, there is your purpose that is still pushing you forward to achieve what you want.
For me, one of the drivers is the discontent of where I am. Because I don't really look backwards at the progress I've made. I'll only really look at two things. I'll look at where am I today and where do I need to go to? And that gap is the one thing that's always driving me. And that's it. It's like chasing that stick that...
It's good to have drive.
Yeah.
But there is, as I said, like there is different point of it. Because sometimes you might not be happy and maybe, for example, exercise. Today, this morning, I didn't feel like I would do, right? And I wake up a little bit earlier and I was thinking, you know what, let's do it. And I was happier afterwards about it.
All right, I'll ask you this then. Is happiness the goal?
Happiness it's always goal, it's just how you achieve it. Is happiness achieved when you reach something, or is happiness along the way? That might be the different.
I don't think of happiness as the goal. I don't strive for happiness. I strive for fulfillment. And along the path, happiness is one of the things I'll experience alongside frustration, impatience, anger, sorrow. Happiness is just one of it's like you're going towards this long-term destination, this mission, this long-term vision. And along that way, I'll experience hopefully more positive happiness, joy compared to, but I know there will be things like anger and sadness and sorrow.
And that's realistic. Facing more those negative emotions.
Is that a question or a statement?
No, it's a statement. Knowing the life, and in the last 5 years, there will be more negative, emotions because things don't go as planned.
But I think if it depends like what your priorities are, like you said earlier, right? If you wanted that happiness and contentment, you would not be on this journey. You would not want to be an entrepreneur because this is not the most efficient way to
be
happiness.
Happy.
Right?
Exactly.
So that was the goal. You should go to a farm and live with your family, and raise some dogs and sheep on the farm.
Let's meet in 5 years. I'll see where I am.
But I also don't think suffering for its own sake is worthwhile. Right. I mean, for the most part, I will caveat this conversation by saying, for the most part, I'm actually very happy and content in my life. It's just that I still have this drive, this desire that pushes me towards this thing. And if I'm unhappy, which rarely I am, I know that this is part of the process of getting to where I need to go. I've accepted the cost of what I'm trying to achieve so that along the way, when I do inevitably experience those negative feelings, I'm not surprised or I'm not indignant when I say, oh, this is so stressful, this is taking too long, all these things, because that's the deal I've made. I know what's in store for me here.
Your vision is what is pulling you, and it's you signed the contract that you are accepting all sorts of emotions and events, but they are necessary, they are part of their terms.
That's right. And this applies to other things as well, like relationships or even a job, right? You knew the terms when you signed up. Yeah. You knew what was expected and what it would entail. So this is why I cannot tolerate complaining, right? Why are you complaining about something you knew when you signed up for it? Now, sure, situations can change and it's different than when you started, but you knew what this was going to be always.
Yeah. That's the thing. What you mentioned before, it's a long-term vision and you are accepting. That's why it's also important to have a good memory, because you were somewhere at the beginning and it was different. You want something and at that time you maybe not consciously, but when you accept something and you accept those challenge, you just see result as always. But there are those holes and whatnot that are holding you, and it's not always what you want, but you have to endure this to get there.
The memory thing is a good one, because I think you've been with your wife for 2 decades, just over.
No, 14 years.
14 years, right? Almost, right? So does she have a different memory of events than you sometimes, where you're both looking back to a thing and she's like, no, that's not what happened, or that's not what you thought or said?
No, maybe she remember more events, but I think we recall well on the
nature of it.
Yeah.
I only asked you because with my previous partner, we have different recollections of events. And I think it's so weird because we rewrite memories sometimes in line with our new perspectives.
Yeah.
Because I'll change, as I said, my mind about things all the time. And I'll think back and think, yeah, this is what I've always thought. And then my partner would say, no, Ibrahim, you used to think completely oppositely a year ago now. I'd be really surprised. Because it's so hard to reconcile the fact that you thought so differently in the past.
Yeah.
I have sometimes delude myself into thinking, this is who I am. This is who I've always been. When I came out of the womb, this is how I was.
How I was and what I was thinking. No, that's maybe the description or recollection of events might be if how someone felt. That might be different, but actual timeline of the events shouldn't be different.
Yeah, that's cool.
Should we wrap up for today?
How are we doing on time?
23 minutes. Now is 3:23.
How many clips do we have?
This is third one.
And we've got 2 10-minute clips.
15 minutes clips.
Half an hour, so it's about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
It's been good. I enjoyed this.
It was a bit more relaxed. A bit more like going around the
freestyle, more conversational, catching up. I like this.
Sure.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
All good.
I mean, no one even watches this long. I can see the stats. You can just be like, fuck you. Nobody's going to watch it.
I'll cut this. And I'll cut this.
Don't cut it. And if you're watching this, please write in and we'll send you a check for £1,000.
When?
Nobody's going to watch it, I'm telling you.
Okay, let's test this, okay? Bye, guys. Ibrahim already signed out.
In the crossfire. It's caught in the
Every day we learn something new. Today I learned how to press record.
This is the podcast gold.
Nice.
Episode 4.